Welcome everyone to another exciting episode of the Team Link Talks podcast. I'm your host out of Alexandria, Virginia, Andrew Becker. On today's episode, we have Andrew Engel out of Wisconsin. He is the owner of Fast Selling Solutions, real estate investor extraordinaire, who has a great first name, might I add. Welcome, man.
Thank you. Yeah, always a pleasure joining the podcast with the fellow Andrew.
Yeah, man. Let's get right into this. So give us the high level who Andrew is and what specifically is your model in Wisconsin.
Yeah, so I consider myself just someone who runs an acquisitions business. What we do is we focus really in Northeast Wisconsin, but I do deals statewide as well. So essentially we are just problem solvers, real estate investors, people who find people in distressed situations looking to sell, but we try to set ourselves apart by really focusing on a lot of niche problems and solving those problems better than anyone else.
Cool. Can you give us some examples of what you mean by a niche problem that you worked before that some people might not have come across?
Yeah, a lot of them have to do with either foreclosure, probate, evictions, and divorces.
Okay. So you come in and you help resolve those problems, but what is your exit strategy? Like, what do you do once you go under contract with a homeowner?
Generally, it's one of the three things: either hold it for long term as a rental, fix and flip it, or find a partner and wholesale it.
Okay. And how, lead generation is all the rage these days. You mentioned like 4 or 5 specific niches. How are you acquiring those leads? What are you reaching out and saying to these people to get them to, ultimately know, like, and trust you enough to help and choose you as the one that's going to help them kind of solve their problem?
Yeah, it depends on the list, but we're doing a direct mail on these niches, and we are also cold calling them. Now, I would say our messaging to these people is coming from a place of helping and being an expert in what they can expect throughout these situations, because each of these situations involve a legal process. And most of the time, like foreclosures and probates especially, people don't really know what to expect. And when you're in this industry working with these people, you quickly start to realize how many challenges and barriers they come against. And you get to know these processes 100 times better than the people who are going through them. So we're always trying to position ourselves from how do we serve these people? How do we help these people? And even if we're not going to buy the house, can we still put them in a better position than before they met us?
Yeah, it's really funny that you say that and mention that, because even people in real estate, man, like, they don't really understand those processes either. They've like heard of pre-foreclosure, probate, and different niches, but it's just as important. Would you agree that the real estate investor or retail agent also knows at least dangerous enough to figure out like where they are in the process and remove hurdles, just like the homeowner and the home seller? They're
Absolutely.
struggling with that. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. And like I said, I think a lot of people start off in this business looking at like the kind of the shotgun approach, big lists of absentee owners or just high equity. There's no inherent problem there. And if you have a blast radius big enough, you will pull in some leads and will do some deals, but you're not exactly getting down into solving a problem outside of just, hey, we have a cash offer ready for you.
Yeah.
So once you kind of get in and dig into very specific problems, you realize that you start losing a lot of deals to people who actually solve the problems.
Yeah.
And that's when you have to actually dig in and be like, oh, okay, this is something I actually have to educate myself in and become an expert in so I can guide people through these problems.
Yeah, you want to become almost like the specialists. What's the saying? Like, the riches are in the niches.
Absolutely.
And one thing that I like, you kind of know my background, is like, then you don't have to go so wide on your lead sources. You can focus on a handful and then just get really good and educate yourself on everything about pre-foreclosure or probates or tax lien or whatever, whatever niche you want to get into. And it's almost like a never-ending lead source that is at your disposal if you do it the right way.
Absolutely. And that's exactly how I got into more of the niches. Is I was doing such a wide blast radius sort of
Yeah.
marketing attempt, and you get a lot of leads that way, but the lead quality is just not there, and you get a lot of people who are just like, tell me what my house is worth, and it's like I don't get a lot of
Yeah.
energy out of having those conversations because I want to be providing value to people and know that what I can offer is valuable and worth, the discount that I need to in order to buy the house.
Yeah, I think there is something to that, Andrew, where you're not just casting a super wide net. And this is for like you as the operator, and if you have team members making these calls or, fielding these calls as well. It can become a morale thing if you kind of just say, send me anyone with equity that's absentee, where, you're not really sure if there's an urgency there. There could be, there might not be, and you get lucky, but a lot of sifting through the sand to get to the little pieces of gold. But how important is it, or like, when was your aha moment when it was like, man, stop just blasting everybody and everyone and focus on this? Like, how did that change your operation?
I know exactly how it happened because my day from 8 to 4 was booked solid for weeks on end with 30-minute appointments, phone appointments, just
Yeah.
sellers who just I could tell were not the right fit. And when I'm talking with somebody and I know like this is not even worth, I'm not the right buyer, and I have to
Yeah.
tell these people like, hey, like, why aren't you going with a realtor? And most of the time they didn't have a reason. Like, oh, I was just checking to see what you're going to say. And I had so
Yeah.
many of those leads where I was like, okay, we need to just cut this completely and start over and focus on lead quality rather than lead quantity because I'm just getting burned out here.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
we changed our messaging. We got very, instead of like we buy houses and just the general advertising, we started looking into each niche that we're doing and going, how do we talk to these people better? How do we serve these people better? And it really just comes down to educating yourself and understanding what these people go through. And I talked to a lot of other investors too, and some of them have actually been in probate situations or have had a foreclosure on them way, in the past. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that is so valuable for you to be talking with somebody and being like, hey, I've been through this. So that's when we started to change our messaging and just kind of drilling down into these. So it was scary at first because you all of a sudden have 1/10 the lead volume, but those
Right.
conversations, it's like everyone is valuable.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to change and be okay with when you're running your own business because it feels like
Yeah.
you're not doing enough, but you can actually do more deals that way.
Yeah. Higher quality is really paramount in an operation. To save money on marketing, number one, to avoid burnout, number two, and then to actually convert. I'm curious, Andrew, like you mentioned, again, like the handful of niches. What's your like rack and stack order for, the ones bringing in the most revenue? Or are you also, I'm assuming you're stacking as well. Have you seen anything that like really stands out as like, this is the, by far, this is the biggest lead source that we're working right now in terms
Well,
of revenue?
yeah, I would say foreclosures and probates are some months it's higher, some it changes, but foreclosures and probates are definitely the top. And we do see probates turn into foreclosures and foreclosures turn into probate depending on the situation. But when you see that there's something going on there, that people are experiencing some sort of challenge that you can come in and help with.
Yeah.
But then evictions are great because they lead you to landlords who often, if you can build a good relationship with them, they often have other properties that they may be looking to sell. They're great. They're great uh, seller financing opportunities as well. And it's just sometimes it's hard because you're kind of almost having to sell to people who don't want to agree.
Yeah, that's tough. I'm curious, like, what's your approach for divorce? That's like one thing that we've done it before, but we kind of shied away because of that, just not to like enter ourselves. But like, what's your approach? I'm just curious to hear how you handle those.
So we've tried various things, and the thing is you have to be really sensitive with divorces because we get them the day that they're filed. So if you are reaching out to somebody who's in a divorce and you mention the divorce, you could be talking to somebody who doesn't know it's been filed because divorces aren't always jointly filed.
Yeah,
So
I never really thought of that. Man, that's crazy. Out of curiosity there, man, did you learn that the hard way
no,
once or
no.
okay.
I have other friends who've gave me fair warning before jumping
Nice,
into
nice.
that.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
if I am going to be marketing to them right away, I'm more like just general, hey, we buy houses. It's not later down the road that I think you can be a little bit more custom to their situation. So that's how we've approached it. I think the ones that are most valuable is when you usually find somebody who one spouse left, but the other spouse is living in the house. Divorce started, and they need to sell, and
Yeah.
this spouse is paying to support this the spouse living in there, and that's when there's usually a lot of motivation. Other than that, I think it's more of I think it's a great opportunity for agents because most of the time
Yeah.
when they're selling, they are going for retail, and that's when they can agree is just getting the most amount of money they can. So I'd say it's more of an agent lead in those situations, the majority of situations, I'd say.
And then Andrew, just to clarify, we know that you like buy and hold, buy and flip, wholesale, that kind of thing on the investor side. Do you also have a retail arm, or what are you doing with those ones that are like, I want market value, I'm not in a real big hurry to sell? Do you have a process for that, or is that internal?
So I'm not an agent. I don't have an agent in my team. So I have other agents who I work with that I refer out to. And they bring me leads, I bring them leads, and it's a mutual relationship.
Gotcha. Cool. Awesome, man. Well, I'm also curious, like, walk us through the structure. You mentioned like you're an acquisitions company, you're getting all these deals. Like, is there a team? Is it just you? Are there other people involved? Walk us through like the model that you're running. Obviously, you're focusing on niche specialty lead
Mhm.
sources, so we'll stay there. But walk us through like your
Yeah. So it's me and two VAs in the Philippines. And I have a cold caller and an admin who helps out with a lot of Facebook communication, Facebook marketing, things like that. But essentially, my cold caller also takes inbound calls because of these niche lists. What I've found is that it doesn't require a 40-hour a week cold calling regime because it is a lower
yeah.
volume. So we can do essentially almost half day of cold calling and in between there do other admin tasks and follow up and incoming calls, things like that. So it's kind of have like a phone one and more of an admin written communication.
So you're super lean then. Did I hear all of your support staff, we'll call it, they're all offshore in the Philippines?
Yes.
Awesome, man. That's really cool. Okay, so and you're doing cold calling, obviously, and you mentioned direct mail earlier, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So is that your only two forms of like outbound marketing, like direct response marketing?
We do a lot of Facebook group posting too. So there's buy sell trade groups that we're in hundreds of them, and we post in there as more of a kind of a I would say it's kind of outbound and people and I like that model too because it's not so much where when you're cold calling, say generally the lead quality is lower than in a direct mail one. The direct mail, they're reaching out to you, and with Facebook you can kind of get that same direct mail response, but it's immediate and you can start having a conversation immediately. So we always take those and direct them to a phone call right after that, and then usually go out and see the place and go from there. But that's
Gotcha.
been a great lead source for us too.
For that Facebook, can you expand on this? Like, what environment are you in? You said a group or a page or something. Can you expand on that? Like, what group is this? What are you posting or saying in this group to get leads?
Yeah. So in there's a lot of Facebook groups in everybody's area, and they have buy sell trade groups. So
Okay.
you go in there to sell moped or your old printer or something,
Yeah.
and within there you can go in and just say, hey, I'm in search of some a rental property or fixer uppers. If anyone's selling, let me know. And then people
Gotcha.
usually comment or DM you, what have you, and you do that several times a day, and it brings in fairly good quality leads.
Interesting. Yeah, I've never thought about like a buy sell trade group. And quite honestly, I didn't even know that existed before. I knew like people sold stuff in the marketplace, but really good lead source. And I'm assuming you're having one of your VAs do this on repeat a few times a day and it can probably stack up. So that's
Yep.
really interesting and pretty cool. Awesome, man. Well, Andrew, one last question for you. Now we're coming up on time. Is there a resource, a checklist, or maybe a book that you can share to anyone listening right now that can help them better their life, their community, or potentially their business?
Well, yes. One, actually, I have it right here. It might have been said already, but it's The One Thing.
Yeah.
And
Great color.
yeah, great.
Yeah.
It's such an awesome book. And it's one that I have to read often. And because I'm, like many entrepreneurs, are just have massive shiny object syndrome. And it's really easy to do a lot of different things, subpar and mediocre. And I always have to bring myself back to no, just focus on just these few things and do them really, really well, because you can't do anything, you can't do a lot of things really well unless that each thing is done to completion before moving on to the next. And that book, I have to read it like once every 6 months to kind of ground myself again.
Yeah, man. Great book and great statement you just made of avoiding shiny, we'll call it shiny lead object syndrome, since
Yeah.
this discussion was a lot about like specific niches. I can attest to that. Obviously, you can attest to that too. If you focus on one of those niches and just focus hardcore on that for a year, I guarantee you'll have a successful business. But you have to learn the value side of things, not just the property side of things. So Andrew, fantastic discussion, really fun conversation to have with you. If someone is in the Wisconsin area listening right now that wants to reach out to chat, to partner up, to send you different deals that they might have, how does one find you? How can somebody reach you?
You can email me at andrew@fastsellingsolutions.com. You can find me on Facebook under Andrew Engel, or Instagram as well. Either way, I'm on those platforms. Reach out to
Cool.
me.
All right, awesome, man. And we will also include Andrew's contact information in the description of this episode. So if you're listening on YouTube right now, please look down, reach out to Andrew if you want to connect. Thanks again, man. Stick around for a sec after this, but thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it.
No, thank you. Pleasure's mine.
All right, man. Later.
Later.